Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Caseware webinar. Today, we are looking at common iXBRL tagging errors. This sort of unofficially follows on from our recent iXBRL in Accounts Advanced webinar that we ran in June. If you missed that one, don't worry, we have the recording on our help site and on YouTube. We'll signpost those for you a bit later on if you wanted to catch up on that previous webinar, and the accompanying information that we attached in terms of our Q&A and that sort of thing, useful links. But for today's session, it's common iXBRL tagging errors. My name is Tom Jeffrey. I'm one of the education and media technicians at Caseware UK. I'm going to be making sure that the session runs smoothly and keeping an eye on your questions and that kind of thing. We'll get to some housekeeping in a moment, but the content will be brought to you by Georgina Atfield, another one of our technicians. George will be taking you through some common areas where errors will occur or may occur. But in terms of our housekeeping, we'll just run through the usual sort of things. So in Zoom, you've got the Q&A option there. If you wanted to submit a question, you can use the option there. We'll try and we'll do our best to get back to you live. We've also allotted some time at the end for Q&A. If we don't respond live, don't worry, we'll get back to you directly afterwards. We'll also include those questions in a Q&A document, and we'll attach that to the recording of the session on the help site. If you wanted to submit any questions after the session, then you can do so during the survey, which will pop up as well. But that's the housekeeping out of the way. I'll hand over to Georgie and we'll get started.
Perfect. Thanks, Tom. I'm just going to share my screen with everybody, so bear with me. Perfect. Okay, so just got a set of financial statements open there, and I've already run through the auto tagging process on these earlier this morning. And what I'm going to do is throughout the webinar just show you, as Tom said, the common sort of tagging errors that come up, and this is a result of sort of support cases. So what the tech support guys assist our clients with, and also what we see within the education and media team as well. So when our consultants are training on site, sort of just the feedback that we've had. So any queries, any questions, then like Tom said, just pop them into the field and we'll look to answer those at the end of the session. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start off with this banner at the top here. So you'll probably be familiar with the red banner at the top relating to sort of rounding errors within the financial statements. But what we've done is we've actually created this big red banner for information as well, just so that obviously it's obvious to you guys. And it's actually relating to the controlling party note. So with regards to the controlling party note and also the related party note as well, it does require manual tagging from you guys. So because it obviously those notes in particular and the disclosure within those notes can be so diverse, we've not actually included any auto tagging for those items. So it is a requirement to manually tag those. So as I say, we've put this information banner at the top of the financial statements. So when you click on it, it comes up with this pop-up window and it jumps down to the controlling party note. And it's just notifying you of whereabouts within the taxonomy and the tagging window you will find the tags that you require to manually tag the particular disclosure. So it's in notes and detailed disclosures, and it's within the related parties section in particular. We have plenty of help and guidance available to assist you with manually tagging both the controlling party and the related party. But what we can do is just tick the box, and then we can close that information window either by clicking on the cross at the top or exiting down here. So that will then get rid of that banner. At the bottom of the controlling party here, we've got the iXBRL tagging warning, so that you can refer back to that if you want to know, particularly in the taxonomy, where to find the tags. You can sort of refer back to that screen if you need to. So with regards to the controlling party in particular, I'm just going to show you in this example here. So items that need to be manually tagged need to sit within their own cells, just so you can apply the tag to that specific information. So I've gone ahead and created the cells within my controlling party note here. If you're unsure of how to insert cells, then please do refer to our help site, and we have guidance on inserting cells via enable editing over there. So with the controlling party, this is just purely example for today's webinar, but I've got my name of my ultimate parent of the group, and that needs to be tagged because it differs to the name of the parent entity. So if the name of the parent entity and the ultimate were the same, it would just require just the one tag. We also need to tag the country. So here I've got the smallest and the largest here in the paragraph, and then you tag obviously the controlling party and the address for that as well. So to enter the manual tagging window, what we need to do is, if you just go to tools at the top and iXBRL, and we've got the tags option. Now, the associated taxonomies will be pre-populated, providing you've selected the taxonomy from the drop down here. So if you do come to this window and that item, that particular item there is blank, then if you select the taxonomy from the drop down under the iXBRL tab, it will populate there. So if we click OK to that, you can see when that loads up, I've just gone ahead and tagged those items. So as per that tagging warning window, it sits within the notes and detailed disclosures. And in particular, if I just go to the top here, and we can collapse this window down. So if you press Shift on your keyboard and click on the minus at the top level, it shrinks everything down, and it's within the related parties section. And then we've got the relationship between entity and parents. So the items are actually tagged within here. So as I say, we've got name of ultimate parent of group, if not parent entity. And then we've got my name of parent entity. So all of these items have already been tagged by myself. And like I say, we've got plenty of guidance on the help site to sort of go through and assist you with that. So what I'm going to do is actually go through and show you some of the common errors that occur that you may come across and how to go about resolving those. So as I said, I have run through the auto tagging on this set of financial statements. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and generate my instance document. So we click on Generate iXBRL. And when that pops up, I'm going to have the option of either submitting to Companies House or submitting to HMRC. Probably the most common one that you guys will see is HMRC. If you do require submitting to Companies House, or you want to inquire further about that, you can speak to our sales team and they'll be able to guide you on that. It is license driven. Alternatively, you can chat to your account manager and they'll be able to guide you on pricing, etc. for that. So if I select Companies House, I'm just going to show you. So we get this diagnostics window, and at this point here, it starts providing us with information or errors that we can go about and we can resolve. So it gives us plenty of guidance. So in particular, these are relating to items within the accounts completion section that need to be rectified. So for filing with Companies House, it needs to be selected as filing with regulatory bodies. So that's just notifying us. Also, Companies House do not accept the detailed profit and loss, and that is currently on. And also we've selected as a selected it, sorry, as a taxonomy. So that's just notifying us there. And the accounts need to be finalised as well. So at this point, I can't proceed any further. The option down here has been taken away from me. I do actually need to go ahead and resolve these before I go ahead with the submission. So at that point, I can close that off and head over to the completion section and resolve those. But prior to doing that, I'm just going to jump on to generate iXBRL again. And I'm just going to select HMRC and show you from a HMRC perspective as well. Okay, so it's telling me that the accounts need to be finalised within the accounts completion section. So I'm going to close this off and I'm going to go and head over to the completion section of the wizard. Okay. So in here then, it's all relating to these radio button options at the top here and the information that you've put in further down. So with regards to the dates and who's signing the report, etc. So I'm going to leave it obviously as full statutory accounts, but I'm going to mark it as final accounts. And in this example today, I'm actually going to submit to HMRC. So I'm going to create the instance document for submission to HMRC. So I'm going to leave it as client retention. If I was to file with Companies House, I would select filing with regulatory bodies. And what that does in particular is it suppresses the detailed profit and loss. So if you do have it switched on, you don't need to go to the accounts prep table and turn that off for submission purposes. By selecting filing with regulatory bodies, Caseware would automatically just hide that in the background. And also it would make amendments to borders, shading, etc. accordingly in order for you to submit successfully. So I'll leave it as client retention. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go against the grain slightly, and I'm actually going to leave the dates section and the director signature empty at the moment, just so you can see at what stage you would receive that error. If you know, by accident it does get missed and the completion wizard hasn't been completed prior to submission, I'm just going to show you at what point those errors would occur. So I'm going to go ahead to the financial statements and I'm going to generate the iXBRL again. And like I say, I'm going to select it for HMRC purposes. Okay, so at this point, this window is telling me that it is good to go. Diagnostics have been passed, and I've obviously made the relevant selections to those radio buttons within the completion wizard. So it's asking me to put a location for the particular output file. So it's a HTML document that gets submitted to HMRC. So I'm going to save that. When exporting and creating this instance document for Companies House, it would automatically place the HTML file in the same location of where your file is sitting. So whether that be on the server or the desktop, it will create that HTML and place it in the same location. For HMRC purposes, when creating the submission, it allows me to locate where I wish to put that. So it may be that you have a designated folder on a shared drive specifically for those output files. But what I've done is, as the file is saved to my desktop in this example, I'm just going to save the HTML to that location as well. Okay, so this is at the point where we start getting sort of tagging diagnostics and tagging errors that have occurred. So the first one in particular, so item representing information over a period, is using a context associated with a specific date. Now, all of these errors and their definitions can be found on our help site. So if you do come across an error that you obviously can't fathom yourself, then if you head over to our help site, we have plenty of guidance over there. But these are just some of the ones that occur. So what we can do at this stage is we can actually correct the item, because as we can see, we are unable to export until these items have been resolved. So I'm going to click correct here. What it does is it jumps me to the location within the financial statements of where the issue is. That's why I moved that diagnostic screen over slightly. It might be something that you want to do yourself. Just move that window over so that when you correct your items, you can visibly see where you are within the financial statements. So this is relating to one of the tags I have done within the controlling party. So when you go ahead and you first do your manual tagging, the context at the bottom here automatically defaults to date of audit or accountant's report. So the context in this case does need to be amended. And what we need to do is select active period. Now, active period is sandwiched in between all of the DPL contexts here. Unfortunately, the list isn't alphabetical. That is a list that has been provided to us by HMRC. So if you just go through, you will be able to find it within the list, but active period, I know, is sandwiched in between all those DPL contexts. What we can do is once we've resolved that, we can click OK, and then that will then remove from the list, and you'll be able to move on to the next one. So tagged items values does not meet the length requirement specified for this taxonomy element. So if I click at correct to that, okay. So again, that is taking me within the controlling party note, and in particular, it is relating to the country in there. Now, with regards to tagging the country within the controlling party, HMRC doesn't actually require a cell with text in it. So what they do require is a dimensional context. So what that means is, as we can see here, from the tag for the country in which parent of largest group is incorporated, that is very broad. Obviously, the country hasn't been specified. It could be any country. So what we need to do is actually create a dimensional context to be able to specify that that is relating to the United Kingdom. So what I'm going to do at this stage is I'm actually going to cancel this window, and I'm going to cancel the export and just show you how to resolve that and what we need to do to get that error resolved. So as I say, HMRC actually requires no text within the cell. So what we can do is we can create a display only cell, and that is the item that we tag. So if I go ahead into enable editing and just set up that cell. And like I say, we want it to be display only in this case. That doesn't affect any of the spacing. It doesn't create an obscure spacing at all in print preview. It is display only, so you see it on the financial statements, but within the print preview, it isn't visible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and go to Tools, iXBRL Tags, and click OK. And what we need to do is we actually need to remove the tag from that particular cell that's got the text in there for United Kingdom, and we need to tag that display only cell. So what we can do in the top left-hand corner here, we've got remove tag. And then we just click on the cell that we want to tag and press tag. Now what that's done is by clicking on the cell where the tag was previously and removing the tag, when I then clicked tag, it's retained that information that was there previously. So we've got the country in which the parent of the largest group is incorporated. And what we want to do is right click on that and new dimensional context. Okay, so the dimensions window pops up. So all of this information at the top here has been pre-defined. By right-clicking on that particular tag, it has already populated the relevant information up the top here. What we need to do is actually go ahead and select the country in the drop-down list. Again, unfortunately, this isn't alphabetical. But what I have found is if you just press U on the keyboard, because we want United Kingdom, it goes through all of the U's and we will eventually get to United Kingdom. There we go. So we can select United Kingdom and click OK to that. What we need to do is give it a name. So it's just for you to be able to specify and find it easily. So if we go country of incorporation, and specifically that is relating to the UK, just so we can find it within the context list easily. So with regards to entity information, this can be copied from one of the other contexts above. So that particular information is the same throughout. So as I click through these contexts, you'll notice that this information here at the bottom doesn't change at all. So what we can do is literally just copy and paste that into that new dimensional context that we have created. And click OK. Then what we need to do is find it within the list. And luckily, because we've created it, it does actually appear right at the very bottom. So we can click OK to that. And what we can do is go ahead and generate iXBRL again and just go through the process. So if at any point you need to cancel out of that diagnostics window, as I did in order to resolve that United Kingdom tagging issue, then you can come out of the screen and go back into it. That isn't a problem at all. Being original with my file names, let's export that. Okay, so I'm going to move this window over just so that when we click correct, we can easily see what it's referring to within the financial statements. Okay, so tagged information is non-numeric. However, a unit of measure has been assigned to it. So if we click correct, that is referring to this item within the related party transactions. And it's relating to the numeric unit down here. Now, what is likely to have happened is that where I've gone through and tagged these items as obviously new reporting currency balances, I've then gone ahead and just tagged that cell there and left the context the same. So what we can do is just select no units of measure and click OK. Okay, so these items that are left are just information purposes. So that's relating to the numeric contexts that have been created. And like I say, they are just information. So we can go ahead and we can export at this point.
Georgie, we've got a question come through. We'll see if we can answer it live. If not, then we can come back to you afterwards. The question is the country of incorporation tag only available for smallest or largest group of consolidation and not for the parent or ultimate parent undertaking?
We can clarify the requirement. So the country of incorporation, yes, that tag is available, but whether it's required for the ultimate, we can find out, or the name of the parent. Yeah, we can come back to you on that one.
Thanks, Georgie. Just while we wait for that to finish, will be off topic really, but while we wait for that to finish loading, Some of the viewers might be wondering why you have an orange exclamation mark warning in the top left. What's that about?
Okay, so that is actually relating to EPACs. So we have just recently had an accounts advanced EPAC released, and that hasn't currently been loaded on my machine. So that's what it's just notifying us of. So it recognises that we are not on the latest EPAC version. So it gives us this warning, and it's just this one here that Tom's referring to. Okay, right, so at this point then we've received quite a few red errors. Now this goes back to what I mentioned at the beginning. So I didn't enter completion dates, and I didn't select a assignee for the reports either. So at this point, that's what it's telling me, is that date of authorization is missing and the director signing the reports. If there was anything else red within this window, that is a mandatory tag and is required by HMRC. Something to check and be aware of, if I just close that, is right at the foot of the detailed profit and loss. You may or may not have noticed this, is a blue skipped section. And it actually contains all of the mandatory tags that are required. So as I say, on that last screen there, obviously we received those red warnings, which we expected, because like I say, I haven't entered dates into the completion or picked who's signing the report. But if there was any others on that screen that were red, don't panic, do come and have a look at this mandatory iXBRL tag section here. And in particular, we've given people the option to actually hide this section, just because it does sometimes create a blank page at the end of your financial statements. Excuse me. So what it'll be is just come and check at the foot of the financial statements first of all, and it may be that this section here is being skipped. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the completion, and I'm going to add some dates into here. Oh, that's not helpful, is it? Oh, goodness me. Turn my numlock off now. There we go. Get there in the end. Right. Just copy those in. And then I'm going to select a signature as well. At this point, it's worth noting that I don't need to go ahead and reapply those tags to my financial statements. So because the dates and the directors signing the reports are put within a cell, and that cell already exists, the tag has already been applied to those cells, and that's how comes we're getting the error at the end, because it's picked up that actually the information is missing. So we wouldn't need to go ahead and apply tags at this stage. That being said, if you do need to reapply tags more than once, if any amendments have been made, or you've added any disclosures into the financial statements, you can run through the tagging process multiple times. It's not just the once and then that's it. If you need to, you can reapply the tags. If it is done after you have manually tagged items, so for instance, the related party and the controlling party, or any other disclosures within the financial statements, it will come up with a little pop-up window saying that it realizes and recognizes, that you've got manual tags within the financial statements. Do you wish to retain them or remove them? And obviously you would select to retain them. Something else that you may have spotted on my toolbar here that some of you may not have is the CH button. So that is relating to submissions to Companies House. So when you go through and generate the iXBRL to submit to Companies House, and you create the output file, this button here then becomes available, and that's how you submit to Companies House. Like I say, if you don't have that visible, it is license driven. So it is specific to your serial number. If it is something that you require, like I say, you can get in touch with our sales team or your account manager and inquire about pricing for that. So it's just going to go through and generate my iXBRL again now that I've resolved the date and the sign-in issue, and hopefully we'll be able to generate that instance document successfully. There we go. Okay, so yeah, it's generated successfully, and all of the compulsory tags are sitting there happy. None of them are screaming red at us to resolve. And at this point, what you can do is you can actually save all of the facts to CSV. So it creates an Excel file, and you can view all of the tags throughout the whole of the financial statements. It's entirely up to you. It's more so for maybe internal reviewing purposes, but you can just go ahead and have a look. So these are all of the items that are tagged within the financial statements, and you can see specifically, you know, the text that has been tagged here. So I'm going to close that down, and we can close that screen, and at that point that HTML file is then ready to be submitted to HMRC. Another thing just to make you aware of is we have a colour picker available here. So we didn't actually turn the highlighting system on in this webinar, but we do have a highlighting and review functionality within the financial statements, and all the auto tags highlight in green. Manual tags highlight in yellow, and then any missing tags highlight in red. And if any of those colours you're unable to view, you do have the colour picker available here, and you're able to change that colouring system if needs be. So that's everything I was going to show you sort of on the error side of things. Tom, I'm going to hand back to you. Have we had any questions at all?
Thanks, Georgie. We don't actually have any additional questions at this stage, but I'll just share my screen again. Oh, we've got one just come in. So just as I said that, so we have got a question, which is, can you show where the tags for ultimate controlling party is found? I saw relating and controlling. Just want to check if there is also ultimate too, if that's something we're able to show on the webinar. If not, we can get back to you afterwards.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do is, so I've just headed to Tools, iXBRL, and then Tags. We click OK to that. It's actually all within the same area. So it's actually within that related parties section. So we've got name of ultimate parent of group. So the controlling party tags and the related party tags are all within that same area there. So hopefully that answers that question. So it's the relationship between entity and parents under the related parties heading. So we've got the name of the ultimate parent of the group, and then we've got the name of parent of largest group. So, oh, there we go. Look, name of controlling party. There you go. It's staring us in the face. Okay, so it's under parent entity, or controlling party and ultimate controlling party. So that's where that information is found. The actual tags are within the related parties section. So that's why it probably throws people off. But like I say, we've got lots of guidance on our help site, quick vids and bits and pieces of where to locate the tags and what tags to apply to the information.
What we'll do is when we publish the recording of the webinar on our help site, we'll put the Q&A document on there with the questions that we've received, and we'll also include some useful links, a summary of links for things like this, and some screenshots and that kind of thing, so that you'll have a summary of what we've covered during the session.
Yeah, perfect.
So I'm just keeping an eye on the Q&A. Nothing's coming through at the moment. I'm going to share my screen again, just to remind everyone, hopefully I've shared the right screen, just to remind everyone that you can use the Q&A option on the toolbar there, and we will, we've got a bit of time so we can answer your question, or try to answer your question live. Otherwise, we'll get back to you afterwards and we'll include it on the Q&A. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the wrap up here and signpost a couple of areas where you can get further guidance, and please continue to use the Q&A option there. As I say, you've also got the survey which will appear after the webinar. We'll also email that to you. So if you wanted to, we'd appreciate you rating the webinar today so that we can improve future sessions, but also it'll give you an opportunity to put any additional questions in there and request for future topics that you'd like to see us cover during webinars. So I'm just going to jump to the next slide here. Just a couple of plugs. We have our YouTube channel. You can see that on the right. So we've got over 500 videos now on our YouTube channel. That's Client Services Caseware UK. And we have a webinar playlist, so you can see all the recordings. We also have lots of quick vid playlists. But if you subscribe there and do the usual YouTube thing, setting your notifications, then we'll let you know when new videos are available. LinkedIn on the left there, again, in Client Services Caseware UK Limited. We post on there about upcoming sessions. We also post about latest news within the business, also little prompts like updating to the latest EPAC, that kind of thing. Our next plug here is the help site, which we mentioned earlier, so help.caseware.co.uk. That takes you to all of our articles for guidance without the need to log in. So you don't need to log in to view our articles. There is a login level for downloads and that kind of thing, and super users will have access to that. If you don't have access and you feel that you should, then get in touch with our support team and they can set that up for you. And again, we have a webinar section on the help site, and that will include today's recording, and it will also include any additional information such as Q&A and useful links. We have, just having a look at the time, we've got a little bit of time here. We have got a question that's just come in, which is, please can you show where you get the blank cell to tag which does not show when printing?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Right, let me share my screen. Let's move Zoom over. Right, here we go. Right, so if I head back into my financial statements. So let's just close that tagging window. What I'll do is I'll just pop a blank cell within this text area here just to show you. So if you go to View at the top and enable editing. If you are prompted for a password, then the password isn't something that we can give out. It's a case of sort of your super user is able to advise you on that, or if you contact our tech support team as well. So into enable editing, and you'll have insert available, and then we've got the C1 button here. So with regards to entering new cells and creating your own cells, what we advise is actually you give it a cell number of USX. So that's like a user, just a short numbering system, which Caseware will definitely never use. So if you were to, say, for instance, enter a cell that's sort of like, you know, A1 or B1, the likelihood is that in later down the line, it might be our development team then add in a cell with that cell reference. Whereas if you use USX and then a number, that will never be used by us. So we've created the cell, and what we can do is just tick the option here for display only. So we don't want it to be an input cell, like we've created for the other items, you know, the balance figures and the text items throughout the disclosure note. We do just want it to be a display only cell. So all you have to do is make sure that is ticked and click OK. And that will enter the cell for you. So the cell is there, but currently because the background is white and the cell is white, that's why we can't see it. So if we come out of enable editing, we've just got this green background here, and we can see that cell has been created. So like I say, if you get prompted for a password, then please do speak within your team or speak to the technical support team. I'm not being awkward. It's just that we appreciate that some clients don't like editing to be done. So, you know, obviously we have to, I wouldn't like to publicize that password on the webinar today. So hopefully that's answered that question. What you may be aware of, some of you, if not, is that since an EPAC release, sort of a couple of EPAC releases ago, going into enable editing, you require the password, but also you may find that this C1 button is still locked down. And that is because if you click on home, it may be that this lock button is selected. So if you're going to enable editing, but you don't see that C1 button available, it is grayed out, then do come to the Home tab and just check this lock button here and make sure that that isn't suppressed. So that's just something to make you aware of. We do have a help site article on that for further guidance.
I think that was something that changed recently, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So if any of you feel that you might be going a bit mad, it used to be that you'd open the enable editing, or you try and open enable editing, and it would ask you for the password. There has been a change recently where we have many clients reporting that you can effectively go straight into enable editing, or it would appear that way, but actually what's happening is you're effectively looking at enable editing in a read-only mode. It won't actually allow you to edit until you have unlocked it, and that's where the unlock part comes in. We have had one last question come in. I don't think we're going to have time really to fully cover the answer. We'll include it in the Q&A, which is relating to cells. Can you check what cells you have manually done? In terms of reviewing what cells you've created, I'm not personally aware of a way that you can summarize what cells you've created, although if it's for this purpose, you'll be tagging it. So you can review, and that's using the review options at the top that Georgie mentioned earlier. And you can set the colors with the color picker, so you can review what you have manually tagged, and that will give you an overview of what's been manually tagged, which in this case would include your blank cell that you've created. I don't think there's another way of reviewing simply what cells you've created, is there, Georgie?
No, throughout the financial statements, there's no way of sort of collating a document as such as to what cells you've created. If it's for the fear of creating duplicate cells, then that isn't possible. When you put the cell number in, if that cell number already exists, it would come up with the cell number in red, and it would notify you that that cell does already exist. But yeah, there's no way of sort of collating the information of what cells you've created, I'm afraid.
Okay, so we are just about out of time. So apologies if we haven't covered your question live, but we will answer it after the session, when we publish the recording, there'll be a Q&A document. Keep an eye out for that. We'll let you know when that's available. I'm just going to share my screen so that we can sign off because we've been through the wrap up already. So thank you very much for joining us today. We hope that you've all found the webinar useful and enjoyed it. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.